Hello, my name is Jeremy Fisher. The title of this presentation is What Am I Passionate About? I am passionate about learning, movies, books, sociology, psychology, philosophy, and technology. Before I delve into each of my passions, I would like to take a second and define what passion is, generally, and how I view passion. The dictionary states that passion is an intense desire or enthusiasm for something. I like to research some of the topics that I'm passionate about in order to learn about my desires and keep myself informed of something new in the fields that I'm passionate about. Galileo once said, "Passion is the genesis of genius." I believe him to be right on the money. Learning about my passions helps the creative side of me when solving problems, creating stories from scratch, or correlating different things that share similarity. When learning about the various things that I am passionate about, it invigorates my mind. It keeps me feeling good about exploring into these subjects. Passion provides the catalyst for learning to ignite. Now I will delve into my passions and attempt to tell you what about these passions that I find interesting. Philosophy. A general definition for philosophy is a study of the fundamental nature of knowledge, reality, and existence, especially when considered as an academic discipline. It is a field that I find fascinating, from Socrates to Hume, all the way up to today's philosophers. I find it interesting because it looks at subjects and attempts to explain how we got the kinds of occupations that we have today. Philosophy delves into the reason of things and why that reason is. Some of my favorite philosophers are Aristotle, Seneca, Plato, Locke. There was a good book that I read called Sophie's World by Justine Gardner. The book was a fascinating read in which it blended fantasy and philosophy. It was about a girl named Sophie who ended up getting these letters in the mail explaining philosophy from the beginning of time. I would suggest to anyone to read this book if they have an interest in philosophy. Philosophy feeds my curiosity for all things and opens up ways of thinking about things. Next thing I am passionate about is psychology. Not because I wish to practice, but because I find it fascinating on how the mind works and processes information. I read books on psychology and watch a lot of neuroscience videos on the subject. One of my favorite authors is David Eagleman. He once said, "Neuroscience, over the next 50 years, is going to introduce things that are mind-blowing." There was a good series by him called David Eagleman's The Brain. I find the brain fascinating and how it works and helps with everything we do. Neuroscience has been around for a while, but it's starting to open up doors to help us understand how the brain works. Another good video on this subject was actually a TED Talk, and it was titled Journey Through the Brain by Amy Robinson Sterling. In the video, she takes us through the brain and highlights some of the things that we are able to understand from the advancement of neuroscience. In the end, it's a fascinating subject that feeds my curiosity in the way of how our brains help form the world that we live in. A show I like that deals with psychology is Brain Games. In it, they present some games that use the mind and show the viewers how the brain works. It's magic in which we experience things. Psychology to me is the field in which that helps explain why we think the things we do. When it comes to authors in the field, I like Carl Jung. Sociology would be my next favorite thing to study, as it deals with cultures and norms. I find it interesting because it tries to underlie societal issues and explains the reason behind cultural norms. It also has been fascinating to learn about different cultures from areas that I've never been. Growing up, I had a fascination with National Geographic videos and magazines. It covered various things, but also covered societal issues when speaking of other cultures. I even keep a dictionary of sociological terms to look at and study from here and there. Some words, such as movement, scientific, biogenetics, sciences, sexuality, broad, major, violence, theory, deviance, general, norms. The next thing I would like to talk about are movies and books. They are one of my passions too. I like reading fantasy novels and thrillers and various knowledgeable things. For me, it's like entering into another person's mind and seeing the story unfold between my eyes. I'm a big movie watcher, as movies are a good source of sociology, psychology, and philosophy. When an actor steps on the screen, they give the impression of the person they represent. Technology is another passion of mine. I find it amazing at all the new stuff that is invented and how technology interacts with other technology in order to create new stuff. I love the internet as it is filled with things to do and watch. Computers are a big part of my passion in technology, as I've always been fascinated in how computers work and what they can provide to the user. I am interested in programming and the building of machines. I have been fascinated with technology my whole life. Learning is a passion that ties within all my other passions, as it helps me explore my passions and learn more about those passions, whether for declarative knowledge or imperative knowledge. By engaging my passions, I find it enriches my life and experiences I have in life. It fuels my curiosity to learn more about anything that is a part of any fields of the fields that I'm passionate about. Find your passion, learn how to add the value to it, and commit.